Since you're attacking us, can you give us a question? No, Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
Mr. President-elect, since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a question?
I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir,
go ahead.
Can you state categorically that nobody... No, Mr. President-elect, that's not appropriate.
If there's one thing which is becoming more and more prevalent and easy to observe, is the amount of people who are misinformed and how easy it can be to spread misinformation. It's been in my mind for a while, but it really got me questioning reality. Why are people like this? Have they always been like this? Why have they become like this? The simplest pieces of information to find, such as whether someone commented on a post, is easily misinterpreted because people are too lazy to simply tap on a smartphone screen.
Smartphone.
You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
This example is trivial, but it just goes to show that even in a topic as insignificant as this, people still can't seem to find a full context or information to get the complete story. This video will aim to maybe find the answer to these questions, but mainly to demonstrate the true potential of misinformation. But first, some context.
Why are you doing this to me?
To show you just how much you don't know. Open your eyes.
In more recent times, the woke movement has gotten bigger and bigger. And by woke, I don't mean progressive ideals. By woke, I mean the think for yourself, do your own research, don't trust the mainstream media and the government. Don't you find it suspicious that this thing has happened at this exact time? In our current climate, to these specific people which share these characteristics who just so happen to be in a social class that we would label a minority group?
You don't find that suspicious?
Well, I think you get the picture. For the most part, I can agree with the surface level message of doing your own research and not trusting everything you hear from someone else's gospel, as they don't owe you the courtesy to tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. However, I feel like people tend to go off the deep end more often than not, diving into the deepest pits of conspiracies, attempting to string together theories which could explain what they think is truly happening behind all the smoke and mirrors. All of this stemming from this woke mindset.
My brother, you are not woke!
Now obviously this concept isn't anything new. Humans aren't perfect, and how they hear and understand things is down to the individual, and how they then pass on this information will differ from person to person. Humans are what creates the room for error and misinterpretation. The easiest way to observe this is with commas, and how a sentence can change depending on where a comma is placed, or if it's even used in the first place. Now, even if the comma is placed, how the information is received is up to the reader's understanding. And if that reader were to then make a public announcement by spreading what they understood incorrectly, that will be considered misinformation, regardless of whether it occurred innocently or with malicious intent. Which brings us to... propaganda, another buzzword which gets thrown around loosely, but a label which was most famously recognized back in the 1900s, more specifically World War I and World War II. Adolf Hitler blamed his loss to the British in World War I, mainly due to the propaganda being spread in newspapers and radio, which seemed to have lowered the morale of the German soldiers and the people of Germany, causing them to question whether what they were fighting for was even worth it in the end. Clearly Hitler took a few notes, because this same tactic was used in World War II during the reign of Nazi Germany, so much so that Hitler even elected Paul Joseph the Minister of Propaganda. A historian known as Sir Robert Ensor states that in Adolf Hitler's autobiographical manifesto, Hitler recognizes this, stating, "There is no limit to what could be done by propaganda. People will believe anything provided they are told it often enough and emphatically enough, and that contradictors are either silenced or smothered in calumny." This is of course irregardless of whether the propaganda being spread is truth or not, which brings us to the next word.
We sent a strong message with this attack, Pnaraoh.
That was no message. This is a message.
You most likely don't see these words used very commonly outside of a few circles, but the concept itself is very prevalent, and you may even witness it on a daily basis. Philosopher John Paul defined it as hiding the truth from oneself. He continues stating, "In order for a liar to successfully lie to the victim of the liar must know that what is being said is false. In order to be successful at lying, the victim must believe the lie to be true. When a person is in a bad faith self-deception, the person is both the liar and the victim of the lie. So at the same time, the liar, as liar, believes the lie to be false, and the victim believes it to be true." Now, I know I said a lot and that may sound confusing, but an example of this would be, let's say that you and a friend are arguing about US presidents. After some minutes, your friend then concedes the argument saying, "Oh yeah, you're right, because even Barack Obama was born in Kenya." You know that the truth is that Obama was actually born in Hawaii, but for the sake of winning the argument, you don't dispute this claim because it benefits you. And that is a prime example of arguing in bad faith. I believe that it's important to draw a distinction when looking at misinformation. A lot of this can be observed by looking at politics, but not only do I want to avoid that, but I believe there is a better way to witness this. You just have to go back to 2007.
Having a friend with cancer may be beneficial to your health. A new study finds 85% of people with friends battling cancer take up marathon running, charity softball, or long-distance cycling. The U.S. Surgeon General is now recommending that all Americans get close to a cancer patient.
I used to smoke a pack a day and watch 5 hours of TV. And when I found out about the stomach cancer, I did a walk for cancer, and that was great. And since then, I've done a 5K run, a 10K run, and actually last week I finished my first marathon for cancer. After dawn passes, I'd really like to find somebody with leukemia. I know they do a swim.
The Onion was founded in 1988. However, they only started publishing satirical news videos online in 2007, where they found internet popularity. Their news videos emulated a typical news channel like BBC or CNN, but immediately something seemed distinctly different from what you're used to seeing on TV. The brutal honesty.
It's a long, tough day here. We lost 4 good men.
No, 27 men died. 4 American soldiers and 23 Taliban soldiers.
The irony, satire, and a very accurate parody of actual news stations. To the unaware, they could come across an Onion video and leave believing that the information presented was factual because, well, it looks just like every other news station. But I think that's the point. It's kind of like when you tell a kid off and they repeat what you said back to you in a mocking tone instead of saying that what you said is stupid. How they repeat your words back to you in a mocking way conveys the same message.
Now in a desperate attempt to fill 24 hours of programming, here's some bullshit that happened somewhere today. We've got some footage here of the bullshit which began just after 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Whoa, there's some bullshit happening.
That happened right over there. I'm an older man, so you can trust what I say.
Authorities in special uniforms rushed to the scene to stand around while our cameras filmed them. We have a colorful graphic here that shows instances of bullshit like this are on the rise. Is that right?
Yes, although why is unclear. Some say it's because of one fucking reason. Others say it's because of some other fucking reason.
No matter what the purpose of the Onion is, they participate in the continued spread of false information, which is a great way of sending a bigger message. Don't trust everything you see, no matter if it's presented in a good format. The Onion has exposed our society's flaws of being too lazy to do their own research, being too comfortable having the information presented to them as a finished product because of other people's work. If people were smart enough to cross-check with other news articles or just browsing the web, they would see that the information published in these satirical videos were fictional. The only people who fell for these videos were the ones who are too lazy to do any of the work of actually researching. Even today, people are still too lazy to read past an article's headline, and they immediately get to tweeting about how outraged they are about a news article which they didn't even read.
Make sure that when you read something, you read the entire article or you read a full source. Do not just read a headline. There are plenty of times where a headline will come out and you'll see it and you'll be like, oh my God, look at this headline. It's so wacky. It's dumb, and you write off the article. And then later on, people will do this. They'll say, oh, well, I heard that X actually is worse for you than Y. And it's like, well, where'd you hear that? Oh, well, I read a piece by the New York Times. Like, no, you didn't. You read the headline to it.
Imagine you get someone a Christmas present, and before they open the gift, all they see is the outline of the shape of the present, and they immediately throw a temper tantrum because they didn't get what they wanted. Ridiculous, right? It's the same thing which happens over and over and over and over and over. It's difficult to believe people's claims that they care about the issues which they're arguing about when they're so quick to look past the full context and are fine with giving their full opinion on what they lack knowledge of. If you're too lazy to read past 2 lines, you don't truly care about what you claim to be outraged about. And the fact that so many people don't see this level of hypocrisy is honestly disappointing, but not surprising. The Onion has forever pioneered a new lane of satirical and parody of journalism, which continues to be emulated even today.
Welcome. So, Elon, a few hours ago, you made an offer to buy Twitter.
15 years ago.
Why?
Everyone's favorite bluebird seems to remain consistent for the annual award of Worst Platform of the Year. For a second, many people thought that TikTok will give it a run for its money, but it simply can't compete with the amount of garbage this platform produces. And when you're competing with TikTok, that gotta be an achievement. A big part of Twitter is the dialogue, the opportunity to discuss anything you want with whoever is in your timeline. Most of these discussions revolve around controversial topics and breaking news. I mean, what better time to attempt to have a serious conversation than right after you watch a news segment which clearly stated that there is still more information to unravel.
One of the reasons why I don't like to do breaking news is because oftentimes a 20-second video will get posted, and it's like, okay, well, if we watch just a 15-second video, we can probably think of like 50 different scenarios that would have justified the behavior on either end. So maybe we should wait for an official statement, for more footage to come out, for other people to make statements on it, just for more information before we decide what's happened.
But that's not what we're here to do right now. No. You see, there exist unique Twitter accounts which have the sole objective to make you question the validity of the information being presented by them. Long story short, they create fake news, and the only source of their information is their imagination.
That's a nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
I think these pages do a great job at exposing the laziness which people have when scrolling through the timeline. Because as expected, people still fall for this. There's even a disclaimer in the bio which couldn't be any more transparent about what they do. I don't think it can get any more obvious than this. It just goes to show how easy it can be to fabricate what looks like real news. Look, all I'm trying to say is, just don't be a fucking idiot. It's not hard.